Frank Walker, could you please give me another interview?
Another one?
Just from your video from Miami of doing like almost 20 interviews in your 24 hours of Ultra, I just want to hear another interview.
Another interview. Because we came straight from Singapore with Kygo and got into Miami like Thursday night. My label was like, hey, you do all these interviews, like when are you free? I'm like, I literally have 24 hours to get everything done before Ultra starts. So it was pretty crazy, but we got it done, got through the shows, and everything's all good.
Now, was that your first time doing a Radio Row type thing?
So like the full row before, yeah. I think we've like Miles, my managers, brought me in before to talk to a few people we know, but never like the full all in a row, back to back to back to back to back to back.
Yeah, I mean, I got to give One Music Ave, Carrie Vance, and the EDMAs so much credit because they did such an amazing event where it was like 60 artists. Just, if you think it's crazy for you, imagine us like having 60 artists just coming through one after another.
Yeah, I know. It's intense. It was good though. We finally got to meet in person. We've been friends on Instagram for a while and talked a bunch before, but never actually met you. So it was a great, you were the last one too, and best for last.
Frank Walker, welcome to America's Dance 30.
Thank you for having me.
Now, I have loved I Go Dancing since you sent it to me, I think back in January. Congratulations on your first #1.
I know, it's been quite the journey, but we made it. It's one of those ones where you see it climbing the charts, and you're like, your fingers crossed, like you hope you get there, but you don't want to be too hopeful in case like you get stuck. But yeah, we made it. You were like one of the first people to support it. So I remember like sent a bunch of liners over to Palm Tree Records, and you immediately DM'd me. It's like, we need more liners. I'm like, perfect. People like the song.
Yeah, it's such an amazing song. Now, when you're working on it, do you have any idea that it could be a #1?
No, I never had one before, so I didn't know what it takes. But I knew the song was strong. Like, I love like lyrically what's going on in it. Like it's got such a good like emotional ballady feel, which is like my favorite. Like I'm a sucker for like sappy lyrics that have like a lot of like depth and emotion to them. Yeah, and like just like having Ella on the track, she's such an amazing vocalist and has so much presence in the dance space. So that really helped gear it up. And like from my end, like working back and forth with her over Zoom because it was kind of like a COVID track. It took a bit to get it done, but like she was such an amazing person to work with, and it felt special when we put it out, and we were really excited to get it out to the world. I'm happy it's been reacting the way I'm hoping it would.
Well, now you know how to base it off because you do have a #1. We're going to talk all about how it was born with Ella Henderson coming up, but let's get to know Frank Walker a little better first with Finky's Firsts.
Uh-oh. Let's go.
Why does everybody react like that? Like, I'm going to, like, break out, so this is your firstborn.
What?
Exactly. Then you can react like that. Now, I love finding out the origin story of artists. I know that you started music as a hobby when you were in college studying business, right?
Yeah, like growing up, my mom tried to get me to take some piano lessons, guitar lessons. Like I always loved music, but I think when you're younger and your parents try to make you do something, you're like, I don't want to do this. You don't want to do it,
yeah.
Which I really regret. If any kids are listening, listen to your mom.
Except for the vegetables. Don't listen to your parents about the vegetables.
No, but then I kind of got to, when I was in university, I was playing rugby up here in Canada at my college, and our team wasn't that good. I started DJing house parties for fun, and that was way more fun than getting beat up once a week playing games. So kind of grew from that, kept DJing more house parties, started meeting some local promoters in town, started playing in Toronto, started playing bigger venues. And then when I graduated, I was like, do I go the business route or do I go the DJ route? And back to actually listening to your mom, she gave me some advice. She's like, you can't start doing this when you're 40. Like if you want to do it, you need to kind of take the plunge now. And then if it doesn't work out, we'll figure out what's next. But yeah, so like I kind of fell into it and like got really good production mentors up here in Canada. Met Miles, my manager, who's based down in Miami. Yeah, and it kind of just grew from there. But started kind of as a hobby. Didn't expect I'd be DJing for a living, let alone having a #1 on dance radio. So it's
so
pretty
crazy. Now, you were mentioning that you played rugby when you were growing up as well. What did you actually first want to be when you were growing up?
I loved cooking when I was in like early high school. Then kind of like talked to some family friends who were chefs, and they're like, "Oh, the hours are horrible. Like you work all weekend, you work nights. Like you should get a real education." Then I chose a job that does all that anyway.
The irony.
I know. It's like you can't make it up.
And it's like to the umpteenth. Like, yes, like we used to own a donut shop. We actually owned multiple donut shops. And I always tell people, don't start your own business because the business owns you. You don't own the business. So yeah. I get how chefs are like crazy hours, but being a DJ and a producer is like to the umpteenth schedule.
And you need to fly every day between it too. I really didn't make smart life choices.
I mean, I'd say you kind of did, Frank.
When I see you next, you're bringing me some donuts.
Well, I know how to finish them. Like
glaze over that part of the story right there.
I can add glaze and I can add powder and jelly and stuff, but my brother was the baker, so I can't make them. Sorry.
With the other Fink to come in.
Yes, the other Fink will be down for it. Now, I know back in 2020 you were nominated for a Juno Award for one of your songs. Now you also have a #1 song. Do you remember the first song you ever made?
Kind of. I think I try to forget it. It definitely wasn't good. Anyone who says there was amazing right out of the gate is definitely lying. I think it was when I was in college before like I knew what I was doing, opened up Ableton for the first time and probably used some stock loops. And I don't think it survived on any of my laptops to this day. But yeah, I think like kind of like the first EP that really like made me feel like, okay, I can do this was one I did called 24, which probably came out like 2017.
Wow.
4 songs, like right after I met Miles. Before that, I was like self-releasing, like booking my own tours, kind of had my own record label that only released my stuff, but just to get it out there. And that was kind of the first time we got real dance features and put kind of a cohesive project together. So yeah, I think 24, my first EP, is the first one that stands out as like, this is like me going for it, kind of.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, pretty much everybody says, yeah, it wasn't good. Like I was talking with Nina Nesbitt and she's like, yeah, I wrote my first song when I was 10 and I just want to forget it. It was that bad.
Well, it was 10. I probably made my first one when I was like 22 and it was still bad. So she has the excuse she was a child. I was just a self-aware adult making bad music.
We have to dig those back up.
I'll find them. Personally, these aren't getting played on air anywhere.
That is hilarious. Now, you've been playing shows and festivals all over the world. I mean, back in March, you played Singapore, Indonesia, Peru, and then, of course, Ultra. Do you remember the first show you ever played?
I do. It was at a bar in university called the Fox and the Fiddle on a Tuesday night. My buddy had the Tuesday night slot, which actually is a really good party night. It was like a party bar in university, and he was down on spring break, and I was younger, so I wasn't going on spring break because I don't know, like, you don't go in your first or second year. And he's like, "Hey, you want to take the slot?" So played like a pub for 4 hours. It was a rowdy crowd, but like not the most glamorous of that.
Were you actually mixing? Like, did you know how to mix at that point?
Yeah, at that point I've been playing house parties for a couple of years. Like I had like Tractor in my laptop and stuff, and like wasn't playing on CDJs. It was a bit of like a rinky-dink setup, but it got the job done.
Gotcha. Now, I know you live in Toronto. Hopefully there's no animosity right now since we are recording this on the first night that my Tampa Bay Lightning are taking on your Toronto Maple Leafs.
Is that why you're wearing a jersey?
Actually, so I wore it for the Lightning, and then as I was prepping for the interview, I'm like, oh, crap, this might be awkward.
I feel like growing up in Canada, we like our hockey team's been we've been used to being let down. So if you win, I'll hold no animosity against you. But
well, I appreciate that.
It's like I feel like I'm never home when the games are on. So that's like another downside to touring.
Were you born in Toronto?
I was born like 45 minutes outside of the city and kind of grew up around the city. But yeah, I've kind of always been Toronto based my whole life.
I've actually only been to Toronto, I want to say like 2 or 3 times because my uncle lives in Toronto, but I was in Montreal.
Montreal's awesome.
Yeah, I need to go back. It is such a beautiful city. Now, do you remember the first time you visited the States?
I would have been pretty young with my family, I think. Like maybe it's probably Florida or something. It's like I feel like it's a pretty natural, like Toronto, you just zip down the coast. It's like the winters here are pretty brutal, so everyone just tries to get away anywhere they can get for like any sun and sand. So
I'm surprised you didn't say, because we used to, I think my first time in the States was going to Plattsburgh, because we would always just cross the border and my parents would take us to New York for some, I have no idea why, but I was expecting you to say that.
I think when I was young, like your parents were like, oh, what are you gonna, like, they don't want to take me to New York. It's like, what are we going to do with our kids? Like, they're going to like be stuck with me. So I think at least on a beach, they could like just stick me somewhere in the sand and I would take care of myself.
And Disney. There's always Disney here if you needed it.
Yeah.
Now, finally, in Finky's first, in honor of I Go Dancing going #1, do you remember your first breakup?
It was like grade 6 or grade 7. It was one of those girlfriends where like your girlfriend is you holding someone's hand. Right. And then like summer vacation comes and it's like, well, like, I think we're broken up. And it was like, that would have been the first breakup.
I think if I remember correctly, one of my first ones was like putting the note in the locker with, will you go out with me? Check yes or no. And then you have to wait all day to get their response.
Did you get a yes or a no?
I think I got a yes, but I don't think I was so shy back then that I think I ignored her the rest of the day.
That's typical like junior school. I think that's why we broke up for summer break, because we didn't talk for like 3 weeks. It's like, well,
I guess we're broken up. Well, let's chat I Go Dancing. How was this smash born with Ella Henderson?
So, like I mentioned earlier, it's kind of like one of those COVID ones. Ella is an amazing vocalist, but she is in London and I am in Canada, which made it a little difficult to make over the pandemic. But I've been a massive fan of hers for a while. She's been on a Kygo track years ago, and then I was backstage at a Kygo show in Ibiza, and actually met her backstage. Like exchanged contacts, and over the years, as I was getting better, I keep sending my management team like, oh, like send this like demo to Ella. It's like, see what she thinks. And I Go Dancing was the one that finally got her attention. But yeah, like, I've been trying to work with her for a while. Kind of had like a rough idea going on it, like kind of a rough instrumental. And originally the song was sung by Clara May, who's another dance vocalist.
Oh, no crap.
Yeah, so she was on the original demo. So, but she had like a couple other releases going on. I put a song out with her years ago, and just it didn't make like timing wise, it didn't make sense. We knew we wanted to kind of kick off this year on a big tour, like to get the single out in January. So sent it over Ella's way, and she worked her magic on it, re-sung some parts, added some new chorus bits, added some ad libs, and kind of went back and forth with her over Zoom to get the track where it was. Kind of had to redo my whole vocal chop with her vocal and not Clara's vocal, because people have different vocal tones and textures. So it was a kind of like virtual collab. Some tracks happen like you're all in the studio together, it just magic works and like you're out of there in 4 hours with a smash. This one was one where it's like we're trying to work between time zones to get the song done, but we got through it. The song's out, it's crushing. I'm super happy. And I think the biggest thing is like for me, like I mentioned earlier, I love the emotion in the lyrics, and I feel like a lot of people are resonating with that and reaching out to me over social. It's been like, oh, like I love the song, like it got me through this bit. And as like a producer and an artist, that's like the coolest thing for me. It's like if someone feels the same way about a song that I do and helps them get through something, it's super special. Yeah, it's such a great song. I had no idea that Clara, because obviously Clara just had the #1 with Vavo, which is amazing. Yeah, that might have been why we couldn't put it out. Probably. I think she's got an amazing voice, and like her, me and Rehab put a collab out years ago, but I love Clara's voice, but it's one of those ones where it's like, hey, like we can't be on this right now. It's the timing is a little too choked up in my release schedule, and I don't know. I've been in that situation before with vocalists where you're waiting around and like then I put a song out and then it does well, and then like you like play like cat and mouse with who's going to get like a gap in their schedule, and then suddenly a song comes out a year after you finished it. So kind of had to strike with Aaron's hot and get Ella to jump in and work her magic and add some extra Ella flair to the track too to get it out fast. Ella absolutely slayed it. I mean, she did such an amazing job on the vocals. Now, something that I love to find out is how many different versions there are from when you start working on it, all the tweaking till when you finally put it out. This must have been a crazy one since you were originally working with Clara May on it. How many V's were there of I Go Dancing? Do you remember? A lot. I'm like a serial saver in my Ableton projects because I hate crashing and then like not knowing where what is or going back. So it's like I save probably like 3 or 4 versions in like a 2-hour session just to keep everything. But then it gets like I don't know what version you got to with Clara. Then I reset. It's like Ella V1. Then you work all your way. Then it goes to mix down. Then you work your way back up. I don't have an accurate number, but definitely a lot. A typical fast track for me has a lot, and this one was a lot. There are so many levels to that. And like at some point, it's like, hey, we're gonna mix it down. So maybe we rename it V1, so like people don't think we're crazy. We sing the version.
I get it, and it's V1. I'm like, there is no way this is V1.
We wanted it being done,
right? And then, of course, you've also got another smash that you just put out, "Waiting" with Stephen Puth. How was that song born?
I've been friends with Stephen for a while because we were on Like Gold together with Loud Luxury. He sung that one that we put out probably like 2020 now. Like I feel like the pandemic just threw everything timeline wise off. But yeah, we stayed in touch. We've been actually writing together quite a bit out in LA. His brother Charlie Puth lives near where I stay when I'm in LA. So Stephen goes and says hi to his brother, and then kind of bugs me. It's like, hey man, we writing today? And it's like, I had some stuff planned. I'm like, well, maybe come stop by. And he's like, hey, I'm in your driveway already. So I can't get rid of him, but he's an amazing writer. So I'm happy to be bothered by him all the time. And I'm working on an album right now. It's hopefully going to come out in the fall. And he's been co-writing a lot of the stuff, like the top lines with me and sending me good demos he has. So he's on Waiting, obviously, but I think he's been helping me write other stuff. We're pitching off to other singers to hop on for the final album. So
well, good to know. If you want to be a vocalist on a Frank Walker track, you just show up in his driveway. And that's
it's only a 1-lane driveway, so I can't get out.
Now, I saw you post that you guys have been working on it for a year. How different is the final from when you started working on it?
It was one of the things was like he kind of sent me the original demo vocals around Ultra last year, actually. And I'm like, wow, this is amazing. We're gonna go to like day 2 or day 3 of Ultra. And I'm like, I don't even want to. I went out because I had a group of my friends with me. But I'm like, I don't even want to go out. I want to stay in and work on this vocal. And then I got next time I think I flew to LA was probably like within that month. We kind of sat in the studio and worked on it. I was putting out some production parts. He was giving me his feedback. I forget, I had a couple of the songs we kind of had scheduled, so it kind of got pushed back a little bit. I had my song Madness with Sam Feld that we had to prioritize and work that one for a bit. Then we were trying to get it out in like maybe end of last year, but there's just like some logistics with the label that didn't get out as fast as we wanted it to, but it made its way out, and it's like such a good song in my opinion. Like it's like one of those ones I was playing out before it was released, and like you could see people like thinking they're singing along even though the song wasn't out, and they couldn't be singing along because no one knew the lyrics. But like I don't know, I'm happy it's out.
Yeah, it's such a great song. Is it tough as a producer when you have to shelve something for that long to get back into the vibe of what you were doing with it?
Kind of. Like part of me is like, hey, we just want to get it out. Sometimes like you sit with something and you listen to it later, and like my production style of what I want to do is changing up a bit. So sometimes you go back and tweak production. That one I think kind of stayed pretty similar to the way it was the whole time. We had to go back. I think I wanted to tweak the mix a little bit after playing it live, like a few months after it was done, which my mix engineer Jordan probably hated. He's like, "You're on the final files of everything." I'm like, "Yeah, it's done." A few months later, I'm like, "Nah, it's not done. We're opening the session back up." But it's for the best.
Well, congratulations on Waiting, and congratulations on your first #1 with I Go Dancing. What is next for Frank Walker?
So we have a few, like I mentioned, I'm working on an album, trying to finalize the next few singles coming up off of that. Nothing's slotted in yet, so I don't think I can name names. We have a couple like dance features you'll know the name of on there. I can tell you off air, but so my label doesn't get angry at me. Yeah, like hoping to do probably 3 more singles off the album, collaborating with some amazing vocalists, collaborating with some other artists who are on the Palm Tree label, like Forrester. I don't know if you've met those guys before, but they're like this kind of awesome, kind of like indie electronic.
Yeah, very talented.
We've been in the studio a little bit writing some stuff. But yeah, hopefully have an album out by like October, November latest. So many more good songs. Hopefully another #1 in there.
Hopefully. Do you have a name for your album yet?
I'm still waiting for that. Like that I'm not saying that as like a play on the word waiting. Nothing's jumped out about it yet. Like I don't know. It's like there's like a lot of strong options, like even song titles in it. But I don't know. We'll wait till like we're working on the artwork and getting it closer to being done. And I don't know. I'll sit with a bit and see what speaks to me. And I don't know. Maybe it's not going to be a song name from the album. So we'll see. It's my debut album. It's one of those things. You're like, do you know you have a #1 earlier? I'm like, nope. It's like, do you know your album title? Nope.
Why am I even doing this interview?
I don't have answers for anything.
But hey, you can do 20 plus interviews. That's all that matters.
That's how I get through so many so fast. Like, this guy sucks.
Right after you left our table, I was like, please never bring Frank Walker back. But I do remember that, just to tell you how insane it was, I remember you saying to me, hey, I'd love to sit here and chat, but we have to go to the next one. I'm like, yeah, I get it.
We worked our whole way down the row, and you're the last one, and Dave Rishti is like, hey, we got to go. It's like pretty much straight from there. We went to like the pool party with Loud Luxury. Like it was like back to back to back interviews. Went back, changed my shirt, grabbed my headphones, went and played a pool party. Which is like fun though. That's Miami Music Week. It's like the chaos of it all is what makes it fun. And you see so many people you've been friends with for a while or friends with through Instagram. Like I met you for the first time that day. There's a bunch of like up and coming younger producers I've met on Instagram for a while. So I'll hit them up like, hey, like, can you send me this remix? And like a bunch of them are all the Loud Luxury pool parties. So I probably met like 20 people that day I've been friends with online for a while, but it's this big kind of like mashup of people in the industry, and it's super fun.
Yeah, I remember LP Giobbi was chatting with me, and we both kind of said the same thing, that you don't even have a chance to breathe during Miami Music Week, but then when it's done, you kind of go, what just happened? Because it's so insane.
Yeah, and for me too, I was like on Singapore time. I was like 12 hours behind, so it was like the middle of the night when I'm doing all this. My body was so jet lagged. I was like fueled by caffeine and Red Bull for a few days.
Well, I appreciate the time then. I appreciate the time now. Frank Walker, thank you for being with us on America's Dance 30.
Anytime. I'm always available to answer questions, but I don't know. Come back.